What's up, guys? This is what if Issei killed Sirzeches. Now, there's only a few ways I can make this. I'm sorry, dudes, I'm making this so weirdly timed, but it's before school, and I'm basically walking there right now. So, yeah. So, in this version, Sirzeches is not the same guy. Well, he is, but in this version, technically Issei isn't the same guy. But we're going to start off whenever Reese found out who her pawn was, because when she revived him, his gear was already right then awakened. So Issei's terrifying her because that's the Red Dragon Emperor. She figured that out, that the Red Dragon Emperor was right fucking there. And she's scared of him because all the history that the Grimoires and, Red Dragon have are very bad. Hell, the only reason that they were able to be sealed up the Red Dragon was because Sirzeches hit him with a big-ass amount of destruction magic to slow his ass down. So yeah, you could say there's a little bit of bad blood between them. So yeah, hold on a second, guys. Sorry if y'all can hear traffic, guys, but I'm kind of by the road. Sorry about that. So here we go. In this version, whenever Issei wakes up, Sirzeches and Reese's entire peerage is there. Issei went berserk, though. Not into his, Juggernaut drive, but something just as dangerous. Crimson Awakening. There's a Pale Awakening, but Crimson is known as the strongest off its sheer brutality. No one's ever been able to stop a Crimson Awakening. It's so strong that even the original God of the Bible feared what would happen if that happened. It's almost 20 minutes straight of whoever is the wielder of the Red Dragon Emperor gear has full access of Drake, all of his abilities and everything. But for those 20 minutes, it's because he's trying to get it under control. This is when Issei actually would do it. But in the process, over those 20 minutes, sadly, Sirzeches would be killed right in front of Reus. Issei apologized, but because Issei was technically now a devil, he also had not quite a devil's immunity, but he would have been labeled as a threat to all of their kind. But because he took out the strongest devil with full power, that was a Sirzeches not holding back. He was now seen as the guy. He was the strongest devil. He took the title of Lucifer. He became Issei Lucifer. His Hyodo name in the human world would still happen. As now, Issei's doing his thing. He's being a guy. He's just going crazy. Now, because he's the leader of the underworld, he has to be taught by the other three. Well, hearing about what's going on and that power was in her little sister's domain, you can expect that a few people were a little bit pissed off about that. But they couldn't do anything about it. To be honest with you, I don't think they could ever do anything about it, but still. This is where we get to see an absolute brutality of senses. We get to see the first time ever Issei's absolutely destroying people. He easily outpowers most of the peerages. Hell, most everything. He took Sirzeches' spot on the top 10 beings in existence. Thing is, that was throughout all of time, so Sirzeches is right beneath him. And right underneath Sirzeches is still Rise of On Lucifer. And, the powerhouse himself. Sorry, I forgot his name. It's, I keep forgetting his name, but he's just as strong. He's known as the second strongest demon ever. He's the smartest demon ever. Well, anyway, yeah. So, Issei wasn't expecting this. He's now considered the guy. What is he gonna do? Well, one, now that he stayed in his own town. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't know someone was right around the corner, so when I was talking, they heard me. But yeah, so yeah. This is when we get to actively see something never before really noted. We get to see a full-on power move. We get to see Issei standing above his area, but this is before Asya joined the peerage. This all happened before Asya became one of the peerage members, and when Issei was walking to school one day, because he wanted to finish his schooling before becoming the true fucking Lucifer, Rizefilm was always like kind of held back because Sirzeches and Ijuka, I finally fucking remembered his name, Ijuka Beelzebub. Because Ijuka was there too, it made it a lot easier for Rizefilm never to attack, and because Ijuka is still there, Rizefilm isn't on that like instant attack mode. He's kind of too worried to. Because he could still have a chance of death if he's fighting Ijuka. Hell, he may kill him in the process, but he may be put on the point where some of the stronger demons could kill him. But that's at best. That's like at the worst scenario for him. He doesn't think it'll happen, but he doesn't want to be. But he wants to be a little bit cautious. Now, his grand plan was whenever they were truly knighting Issei as Satan, as the new Lucifer, that he would be the one to take over the titles. He would appear and instantly kill Issei with his strongest attack, which is considered like a world-ending attack. It's as strong as Sirzeches' most powerful demonic blast, which is on multiple times shown that no one can truly stop it. Hell, it's what put Drake to the point where he could barely keep up. Granted, Drake now could probably whoop his ass, but still. But here we go. So Issei's basically absolutely. When he saw those fallen angels and Asya, he didn't attack Asya. But when he dealt with those four, he should have one-shot them each. Took Asya's gear, put it back to her. Asked Rias to revive them. Because Issei was by all means her sacred piece, she doesn't want to lose him, so she's saying, sure. Oh, okay, Issei. Still kind of sad about her brother, which I can't really blame her. Issei was pretty sad about that whole thing of losing Sirzeches, but it was kind of his fault. He couldn't control the dragon, and it killed him. So Issei's kind of depressed a little bit about this, because he didn't want to kill a guy, because, well, now he's got blood on his hands. Technically, he's got 5 people's blood on his hands, but whatever. At this point, Issei doesn't give a fuck about most beings in existence. Hell, the only one he really cares about right now is himself, and maybe Asya, and I guess the Rias peerage, but this is when we get to see a difference. Issei gets knighted in a little bit right before the raiding game. Now, thing is, hearing that Sirzeches was dead and that there was a new Lucifer knighted, Riser didn't give a fuck. He didn't care who the guy was. So for Issei, whenever, like, the whole thing, because Sirzeches' peerage was all, like, had no master, they went under Issei. Because, I mean, it only made sense to send them to Issei. And now Issei has a name. But there is one child that doesn't like this, Milikith. And Issei straight up apologized to Milikith. But he is a little bit glad that his father was, Sirzeches was there. If Sirzeches wasn't there, Issei would have gone on a true rampage and just about killed everybody. And, yeah. Milikith understands, and this is when Issei straight up said, do me a favor, when you're strong enough, when you've reached the level of me, or even above that, come get me and avenge your father. Now, Issei actually become pretty good friends with Milikith, even though Milikith has a little bit of disdain for him. It kind of stops once Issei basically does everything in his power to right his wrong. And because of the way their world works, Sirzeches usually wouldn't exist anymore, but he does. Because he's in the infamous, he's with Hades, an area where only dead demons, dead angels, dead fallens, dead all that could go. Because he was one, and because of his power, he's able to basically walk out because he's stronger than Hades. And Hades knows it, but he's not going to usually let Sirzeches walk out. He allows Sirzeches 2 hours, like 2 hours a week, to be able to go out. Do whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, he kind of has to allow that. If he doesn't, then he's going to get his ass whooped and just have Sirzeches run wild. And because no one wants that, Sirzeches is able to come back every few weeks. Every week he comes back for a few hours, talks to Milikis, says how it wasn't Issei's fault, and even teaches Milikis some fighting styles that he knows, and Issei some leadership that he needs. This is when we get to see an Issei that finally is done. As he's now the king of hell, he simply just waits. He does all the stuff that Issei would do in canon, but he absolutely just one-shots every opponent. None of them could really fuck with him. But in this version, at the end, not the real end of the series, but basically the end, Issei just had his, final kid with Rias. Because his first kid was with Rias, and his second one as well. This is where shit hits the fan. Now, this is where we get to see Milikis is finally full grown and wearing his father's armor. And he looks eye to eye with Issei and said, Issei, you said you wanted me to do this. It's the time. Alright, a duel for the title and for the life. Proceed. Issei, who's basically led hell and taught Milikis everything, and Milikis knows everything he would need to know to become the leader of hell. Granted, Milikis only about 80 years old, though, since it's years later since Issei was that powerful. Now, Issei saw Vali in the stands, laughing his ass off. But this is when Issei said, I've got my own final match, though. Is that alright? Yeah, it's fine. Issei went against Vali, who did the same exact challenge, but a few days earlier. Now that it was finally happening, Issei defeated Vali and killed him. Then Issei turned and looked eye to eye with Milikis. Took a Phoenix Tear and said, let's go, Milikis. Milikis and him fought at a full-on fight. And it was going to be a standstill, except for the fact Issei was going all out. From the get-go, Milikis was pacing himself a little bit. So in the end, Issei is killed by Milikis. Issei said, you did good. Giving him one last hug, putting Milikis' head on his shoulder and said, you did good, kid. Thank you. Issei says goodbye to his family as he dies. And this is kind of the end of Issei Hyodo. This is going to be a little one-shot. So, I'm sorry guys, but it's only going to be about, a few minutes. But, stay slick. And let Ultra Slick Sync guide your ways. Goodbye.